It's 9 o'clock on a Sunday morning, and what am I doing? The second half of the stream from yesterday, looking at the debate between Mandisa Thomas and Kent Hovind from back in July of 2024. Don't have any preamble here, just running this straight up live. So we're going to start right where we left off, an hour in. If you didn't see the previous one, it's going to be the previous live stream before this one. So start there and then come back to this one. Otherwise, let's get rolling.
Is sufficient evidence that it's not, that it is older.
So I think it's exactly the opposite. I think the evolution theory has dumbed down our schools, okay? That's one of the greatest hindrances to education. We teach.
And for context, as if you can't gather from what Kent is talking about, the tail end of the discussion, it had focused on evolution's presence in the education system, which of course it always does with Kent, because that's his entire shtick. His entire thing is really to get actual science removed from the textbook and all effect. I almost wanted to say it, as a parody in the Hovind voice, but that's what he actually wants to do, is remove, actual facts and reality from the education system and destroy the education system to keep people stupid, to ensure that they follow religion, and thus, keep people like him not having to do actual work or something to that effect. But Mandisa is pointing out that the stifling of the education system by the religious right is extremely dangerous, and that it is a cruel plan, in effect. My words, not hers, but when I really look at it, that's how I interpret it.
The kids, we teach them, boys and girls, you're nothing but an animal. And then we wonder, why do they act like animals? That's why so many school shootings are taking place, because of evolution being taught. That's what Adolf Hitler, that was his motivating factor. Hitler said,
yes, and I know we're an hour into this video and Godwin's law was already broken, but we can't make it 3 minutes into my stream without Godwin's law being broken. That's incredible.
He believed in evolution. He said,
no, Hitler was a Christian.
No, he was not a Christian.
The religiosity of Hitler is up for debate. He definitely held theistic ideals for a majority of his life. As he slowly went crazy, which is funny talking about Hitler and saying, oh, he went crazy, as if he wasn't always crazy in one degree or another. But as his mental state deteriorated through the course of the war, things become suspect. But there are Christian overtones in Mein Kampf.
Hitler said, we need to eliminate the inferior races. He had the Jews at the bottom of the list. Right above them was blacks. Hitler hated blacks. And when Jesse Owens, the black American athlete, won the most gold medals in 1936 in the Berlin Olympics, Hitler refused to shake his
And the Berlin Olympics. Why you gotta stress it like that, Kent?
hand and walked out of the stadium. He said, it's not fair to make my men race against this animal. I'm telling you, evolution is the foundation for racism, not Christianity. Racism, read Charles Darwin's book. Can you grab that right there? The big.
As if racism didn't exist long before the concept of evolution was ever remotely contemplated by anyone.
Fat one. Charles Darwin's book, The Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection, or the Preservation of Favored Races in the Struggle for Life. Here's his book. Here's the title page, Favored Races. Darwin's book talks about certain.
Those words do not mean what you think they mean, Kent.
Races of humans are superior to others.
Yes, and that is where many scientists have been flawed. Did I say that science was perfect? No, it is not. There have been racist scientists, absolutely. But guess what? The enslavement of millions of African people was justified by the Catholic Church in particular through the Bible, through the curse.
And see, Mandisa and I take a separate standpoint on where we would counter on Kent's assertion of Origin of Species having racist motivations in and of itself. She immediately went to, yeah, there were scientists who were pieces of shit, racist assholes, sure, but the actual slavery that you're trying to say that Darwin's book helped promote, which is funny that it started to end in a lot of areas around the time Darwin was working on the book, was actually heavily promoted and indeed condoned by religious organizations. It was intrinsically supported by the religious texts. Those were used as a justification. So even if Hovind was right about racist concepts in Darwin's book or other stuff, which, I mean, there's some stuff that's, whatever, and Darwin had a few shit ideas, but the fact remains that's not what the text actually means. Even if we were to grant that, it doesn't ignore Mandisa's follow-up point that the slavery that everyone wants to bring up, the slavery that is the big focus, especially when dealing with the Black American populace and the history, was justified with Christianity.
Curse of Ham, and I know you know that's in your Bible.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. The darker skin Ham.
No,
yes,
it doesn't say darker skin.
Yes.
It does say Ham was cursed. It does not say darker skin.
Yes, it does.
It does not. You need to read your Bible.
Well, and it was justified by your religious people.
See, they didn't read. They should have come talk to me. I would have told them that's not what that says. Come on, read it. I've read it hundreds of times. Okay, the black people are not cursed, and dark skin.
Yeah, Ken Hovind is the arbiter of every bit of reality.
Is not a curse. The Mormons teach that. The Catholic. I'm about as far from a Catholic as you can get.
So then how is it that this book that y'all all believe in
right
can produce so many levels of being subjective that people can base things on race based?
And that to me has always been a critical crux of the entire concept of religion, the fact that it gets fragmented, that different denominations form, the different versions of the Holy Book exist. I've mentioned before, I remember growing up on the coffee table, there's a big ass gilded edge King James Bible, which I wish I actually still was in, we were in possession of. I don't know what happened to it, but I wish I actually still owned it, just because I thought the book was pretty badass being as big as it is and stuff. Even though, it was a Bible. And even as a kid, I thought this book is kind of weird. But the fact that I saw a King James version, it's like, so there's other versions? I thought it was just one book. And that alone was one of those seeds that got planted early on with my little analytically wired ass thinking, why are there multiple versions if this is supposed to be the one truth of reality, that this doesn't make sense? And that was just the first seed planted of many, to where I saw the fragmentation of religion and was like, there's no way any of this could be actually accurate. The truth may lie somewhere in between. And I think that's kind of what everyone's thought some way or another as denominations have grown and people become more aware of them, and why people keep on sort of forming their own version of everything. There's the joke that there's as many versions of Christianity as there are Christians, because everyone's a little bit different. I find a definite truth to that.
Based on this one belief that y'all claim is perfect. This is supposed to be the perfect word.
Perfect book. Perfect, God. Yeah.
Perfect. But yet there are so many different interpretations. Again, there are four different versions of creationism, and y'all all disagree with each other.
Yeah, thank you, Tubi. And it's a little too early for me to be forming the most concrete thoughts. And yeah, you can say some things Darwin said in Origin of Species would be considered racist today, but races in the book refers to species. Exactly.
See, I'm right. That's why people need to come to me.
Really?
Right.
Okay.
That's why we got thousands of viewers on our channel. We're trying to get the world converted back. I believe that God sent prophets.
Not no more, you don't.
All the time to his people. His own people went haywire. Read the book of Ezekiel or Daniel or Hosea or Isaiah, Jeremiah. He had to send his own prophets to get his people straightened out. He had to send Moses to lead them, the stubborn Jews. So no, I believe that God, there has to
Damn. Stubborn Jews. What an asshole, Kent.
be a God to make the world. To me, it's logical. Somebody made this. It's too complex to happen by itself. If somebody made the world, then he owns it. And he makes the rules. And I think people want to avoid God's in their life because they don't like his rules. And they don't, like one atheist told me. I said, do you have evidence for evolution, or do you believe it because it's convenient for you or something like that? He said, I like evolution because I'm horny. I don't like God telling me I can't commit adultery.
I'll take conversations that never happened for 500, Alex.
Okay, well,
Wow,
at least he's
that's
honest.
Interesting.
Well, he's honest.
That's very interesting.
Question. If you're an atheist, how do you tell right from wrong on any topic? Is it wrong to murder somebody? And if so, why?
First of all, it is wrong to murder just anyone just because.
Well, the lions do it to
They're
the zebras all the time.
Well, do you believe that is wrong?
No, does the lion believe it's wrong?
It is a matter of survival. It is a matter of them eating.
Okay, so if I have to survive and I want to kill my neighbors and steal all their stuff, that would be okay because I got to survive.
No,
that's what you're saying.
No, that is.
Let's not ignore Kent's crude extrapolation of everything. But of course, as has been the crux of my entire series on this man, nuance is completely lost on him.
It's not what I said. I do not believe that.
So it's okay for the lion to kill the zebra and eat him because he's got to survive.
But you're talking about a different species here. You are talking about a
I thought
different species in the lion.
I thought man was just an animal.
No, well, there are some men who act like animals.
Well, yeah,
they really do.
Does man have a soul? There's something different between man. There's no soul.
Human beings, and you keep saying it as the form of men.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yes, which of course the Bible does favor men over anything else. So and in other religions.
Well, no, this right here becomes a bit of a sticky subject because apparently the words as we have them today, man and woman, actually come from different origins, like drastically different, and it kind of converged together. But the gender thing is irrelevant when you refer to man as short for humankind. This is a bit of this is one of those cases where things that aren't actually exactly how they seem, and some people aren't totally made aware. But at the same rate, I am in no way going to try to deny Mandisa's point that there is obviously androcentrism in everything. It's like, yeah, all you give a fuck about is men. Women don't mean shit in your Bible. But yeah, this is a little bit of a sticky point for me because it's like it's splitting the wrong hairs. It's focusing on the wrong stuff. But I won't go into further details. Lest I seem like Thunderfoot mid 2016. You're gonna sound like him or something. Ugh.
There are deities that are in the form of women. Certainly not in the Christian Bible, though.
Well, should we open the can of worms? Are there more than two genders? I tell the
no.
Don't open
first of all, this is
okay.
If we want to talk about atheism versus creationism, which is where we're supposed to be, right?
Because I invite all of them to come try to milk our bull if they think they're.
Hey Kent, on the gender thing, let's say you have the color red and the color blue. Are there only two colors, or are there a whole lot of colors in between those two, but there's still some kind of red or blue in some variety? Even up to a point where you just can't quite tell what's what. There you go. There's gender. It's not a hard concept. Welcome to the rainbow.
There's more than two. Okay. Just try. I want to watch that from a distance. I want to see that one with a zoom camera, and we'll play it on one of them funny videos. Okay. So back to the question.
The fuck was he even on about? A zoom camera played on one of them funny videos? What the hell, Kent? Moments like that remind me I'm still more coherent than Kent, and then I remember that's not a very high bar to try to leap over. So,
as an atheist, where's the standard for right and wrong? Is it wrong to murder your neighbor's baby and eat it?
Of course it is.
Why? Who decided that?
Of course it is.
The lion.
Like it's wrong for some deity to demand that he kill his son and then say, "Oh, I was just kidding." Like Abraham.
Oh yeah, I mean you can't ignore that one. Hey Abraham, kill your son because I told you to. No, don't worry. I know you're about to do it. Don't worry about it. I'm just testing you. That is literally some abusive shit in multiple levels.
Well, you're evading the question.
No, I'm not. Just like I think it is wrong for some deity that you call God to try to say.
Yeah, Dog Walker, that's what I'm thinking. Color gradients just don't exist to Kent. Everything's black and white, red and blue, or blue and pink, or whatever.
Hey, prove your loyalty to me by killing your son. I think that is wrong.
Why would it be wrong to kill your son? Don't some animals do that?
I'm sorry just hearing Kent say that this early in the morning. It is too early for this crap, but man, this is gonna be fun. Finishing this up, then maybe doing something else later.
Now?
No.
Some animal. Oh yeah, animals do that all
As
the
an
time.
atheist, I don't simply believe that murder is just. And that is because I try to treat people the way I would like to be treated, and I see the overall value of human beings.
Okay, so
I don't sit up here and just simply say, I don't like you, I should kill you. Now that is not me lacking morals, because I don't believe in a God.
I'd like you to tell me, where do your morals come from then?
So they come from they come from a variety of places.
What if I have?
In a short form, they come from oneself understanding the social contracts we have with others. Those social contracts we have with others are what Mandisa is going to elucidate on. That's the way I'd sum it up if I was asked this question, but I can't currently.
What if somebody has different morals and they think it's okay to come steal your stuff?
Well, then there would be a response to that. If someone thinks it's okay to steal my stuff, then there are things that I can do to defend myself and protect myself. But
Right.
going back to where my morals come from,
Where do they come from?
they come from a variety of things. They come from my upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
I certainly read various forms of mythology and also learning about different societies and different cultures, also coming from my parents and my family and those who valued family, and also the education.
Right.
So there are many different forms or many different ways I arrive at my sense of morality.
Good. So
Now, it doesn't necessarily all.
You know what this tells me? That the subject of morality is quite complicated and, dare I say, you know what word's coming? Nuanced. Or nuanced, if you'd prefer.
Always have to. Now, what some people may consider moral or just might be a little bit different than mine, as long as it is not infringing on my right to live or on my right, then fine. We may disagree on that, but that's fine. I'm not going to just simply judge you or condemn you simply because you may not have the same moral code that I have. But you don't have to believe in a God in order to have a sense of morality. In fact, it actually expands that. It expands beyond belief in a God. And then it actually makes me more moral because I don't.
So if you have a neighbor that does not have your same morals and he thinks it is okay to steal or murder,
then he's going to have a problem. We'll have a problem.
Why should they have?
Boy, Kent is obsessed with just everyone living next to horrible people. I wonder if that's because that's what he does day in, day out, is live with horrible people, including himself.
Have a problem because their moral maybe their moral standard is right and yours is wrong.
Well, why would it be okay for them to take something that doesn't belong to them?
Well, doesn't the lion go next door and kill the zebra,
no,
baby?
We are talking about a species of people who can communicate the same way. We are able to talk to each other, or at least we should be able to comprehend with each other.
So man is different than.
We should also note, which I brought up before, that he's talking about an interspecies relation of predator and prey versus something that's a dependent just fact of life, as opposed to people, same species, same thing, choosing to do stuff because they just fucking feel like it. It's just false equivalence.
And the animals.
Well, of course, man is somewhat different than animals. Do we share same traits? Do we share certain animalistic abilities? Yeah, I think we do. I think we do.
I agree.
Now, do we all communicate the same? No. Would I want to be in close proximity with the lion? I don't think you would either.
Right. No.
Now, I hope you're okay, because you mentioned snakes before. I hope you're okay.
I'm fine.
From the snake. Good.
Miserable 12 hours and I'm fine.
Well, that's good, because snake bites can kill. But I'm glad you're okay. Would I want to be within the proximity of a snake? No, because I can't talk to it. If there is a snake that comes on my property, it will see its life end.
Yeah.
But is it doing what it may be natural to them as a species?
Right.
Probably. But as human beings who may be coming to, if my neighbor, and I have lovely neighbors who have their own homes, who have their own vehicles, there would be most likely be no reason for them to try to take anything that me or my family has. But if they decided to do that, based on the law, I would be defending myself and my family and my children, and there would be consequences for that.
Right. Well, that's why I'm glad you agree, at least that man is different than the animals. So
I have a theory that if there is a God, the snake was sent specifically to solve the Hovind problem, and it just didn't play out as planned. So, I mean, we still got a pretty weak and competent deity, but in this hypothetical, the deity is at least not in line with Hovind. As I think I mentioned before, in all seriousness, any deity that exists would have to be relatively weak compared to what people think they are if they were to actually exist in the universe as it is. Additionally, I thought about it a moment ago and was just waiting for a point to be able to bring it up. Talking about differences between humans and other animals, or as some would phrase it, humans and animals. I don't think there's a single individual trait, individual thing that humans do that isn't demonstrated in a great multitude of other species, if not damn near everything, depending on what trait you're talking about. Even the facets of our psyche, the different personalities that all kinds of animals have. I mean, even, like jumping spiders and stuff have personalities. And you wouldn't think of them as remotely smart compared to, most mammals and stuff, but here they are. They've got, they've got their quirks, they've got their behaviors, things they like, things they don't like. Nothing about us is all that special isolated. It's the amalgamation of everything that allowed us to become what we have become and do what we do. You stick a dolphin brain, you take their intelligence, put it in an ape body, we'd have a fight on our hands. They just don't have the body to do the stuff we do. Just one of those things I always think about.
the question of where does an atheist get their moral standard if everybody believed like you believe there's no God? Really, the Muslims then, their standard says, hey, if you don't believe like us, their Quran says we're required to kill you. They may not all do it, but that's what their book says. I can show you many times. The book says you're required to kill anybody who doesn't believe.
And I think they're wrong for that. Just like I said, I think that and I'm sure they have a creation story as well. It is not rooted in evidence, and therefore I don't believe in it, just like you don't believe in their creation story.
And the idea of life coming from the soup is not rooted in evidence. And the idea of the earth being...
Is, though. It's actually rooted in evidence. It's rooted in scientific queries. It is in scientific research. All of these things that just because you don't agree with it.
Deer can't let out that little stress sigh there. That little... after she was saying it is rooted in scientific evidence, scientific discovery. Can't.
Does not necessarily mean it isn't plausible.
Well,
and
plausible,
that is where we are. That is where we are having a fundamental difference here.
Plausible and proven science is very different, okay? It is proven so far life cannot make itself. Somebody had to start it. Nobody's been able to make life in the laboratory.
But you said you don't even have proof that your God did it.
Life can't make itself, but we procreate. So which is it, Kent?
Oh, no, but that's why I admit mine's a religion, and you don't admit yours is a religion.
No, but it's not.
It is. You believe by faith life got started in the soup.
Abuse. Just admit it. Come on, admit it. Admit it.
We can't even make it happen, let alone watch it happen.
The definition of faith. What is your definition of faith?
Well, it's belief in something you can't prove scientifically. It'd be a short definition of it.
Right.
You believe that there's no God. You can't prove such a thing, but you believe that. But you won't admit that's a faith of yours. You think it's scientific. You can prove there's no God?
I'm not trying to prove there is no God.
Well,
people who believe like you often prove that for themselves. Again, the fact that there are so many different Christian factions fighting among each other
I know.
prove that this God doesn't exist.
No, it just proves they all need to come listen to me because
No,
I got the.
So you're God. You think you're God?
That's correct.
See,
No, I'm not God. I'm not God. I
Okay.
worship the right God. I have the right book.
Well, interesting.
I didn't say I was God. Don't misquote me on that. So
Worship the right God. Hovind.
Well, you said it, so
I
mean,
did
just
not.
asked.
I did not.
Yeah,
I
you
said,
did.
so I said I've got the right interpretation. So if I'm wrong, somebody show me. Okay. So far, all scientific evidence has shown cows produce cows, dogs produce dogs. There are no exceptions. This chart is religion. This is not science. There is no evidence that the horse is related to the butterfly or the beaver or the
Yeah, Mandisa ain't having any of his shit.
bird.
And what's interesting is that, and this is, we should all take this as a reminder that when push comes to shove, especially if Kent doesn't have someone like Donnie or something on his side, like he doesn't anymore, to try to control things, he backs down real easy. It's actually rather easy to reverse things and relatively steamroll Kent. Not to say that one should try truly to go that far in the tactic, but one should stay firm. And that we all need to remember that. Sorry, the cat's at the door meowing, and I'm like, come on, I don't want you in here. Just wanted to explore everything. Kittens. Oh, she's sad. Actually, I think that's Dwayna, so she might just want in the window.
If you wish to believe such a thing, believe what you want. I showed you scientific proof the universe cannot be more than 1.2 billion years old. It can't be. At least the Earth moon can't be. But yet you believe by faith
Cat update. Yep, it was Dwayna, and she wants to hop in the window.
that 3 billion years ago life got started. I'm sorry, you can't have 3 billion years. That's where I keep saying time is the pacifier for the atheist and evolutionist.
Is it the pacifier, Kent? Because I thought it was our God. Which is it?
They think given enough time, it'll happen. That keeps them satisfied.
Wow.
There's no milk in it. I'm sorry. It's a pacifier. Time, all through the books. Put this one up, brother, would you?
That's interesting because when you talk about time and the rapture, do you believe that the rapture is coming?
I believe so. Yep. Hope so.
So you're actually the one who is depending on time here.
Oh yeah, I believe God created time, space, and matter.
Interesting.
But look at this. Earth formed 4.5 billion years ago. National Pornographic.
Sorry, I was snacking on some pretzels there. Notice that when Mandisa asked about the rapture, if it was coming, Kent said, I hope so. But Christianity isn't a death cult.
This is not
Why are you saying it's geographic? Why are you saying pornographic?
Oh, I guess they always show pornographic. They always did anyway, pornographic pictures. So
that's interesting.
By the way, if evolution is true, what's wrong with pornography?
Hey, I mean, I'm not sitting up here saying anything is wrong with pornography. You are. You're implying that. I don't think there's anything wrong with pornography unless there are non-consenting adults or not.
Bingo. Two adults want to do what they want, go for it. If a third adult wants to, watch, whatever. That's their business. Not mine, not Kent's, not nobody's.
Anyone who is not.
Well, should there be clothing standards? Should people be allowed to walk the streets naked?
I think in some societies, people have been able to, but unfortunately, there have been draconian religious people who have deemed many Christians.
They messed it up for you.
Yes, Christians have messed up quite a few things.
But I mean, clothing has existed for quite a long time, and different levels of choosing to or not to cover up this, that, or the other has been just a thing that's just a societal thing that's always kind of naturally come, gone, what have you. I can't make a claim one way or the other because I think that's purely societal and purely based on the person. That's usually influenced by society. But, that's for the individual groups to figure out.
Let's just say that. Yes.
And so have evolutionists and atheists. I've messed up quite a few things. Hitler and Stalin.
Well, Hitler was not an atheist. Hitler was a believer.
He was an evolutionist.
Stalin was an atheist. Do I think
Hitler had Darwin's books burned? I don't think he was an evolutionist. As I said before, their acceptance of any evolutionary theories went only so far as their own research happened to have matched what others would have already known or what evolution would have predicted, mostly in their medical research.
Think that what he did in his power in Russia was right? No, I do not. I'm not saying.
And Stalin stuff was, again, as I always have to stress, with all these, motivated by the fact that he was a fucking crazy ass who had unlimited fucking power. How hard is that to grasp? It's actually kind of irrelevant to what he did or didn't believe at any given point. Just what he wanted to do, and knowing no one's going to stop me. I can do what I want. Just like you, Hovind. Have your little cult. Have it at church. You can do whatever you want. Doesn't matter. No one's going to stop you.
Up here, just like you don't agree with all Christians, and definitely all Christians don't agree with you.
So
I don't agree with all atheists
well, listen,
either.
so if
it also hit me earlier that Mandisa's audio has not been good at all during this. And it hit me, I think, and I could be overthinking this, but given their relatively close proximity, given that the actual distance between them is roughly what we see here, if you were to move the Mandisa's box down on level with Hovind's, it may actually be audio from, and this is a crapshoot, but it could be audio from Kent's microphone actually being picked up for Mandisa as opposed to her own. Or that microphone may truly be that terrible, but when she moves her head towards and away from the mic, I don't notice any appreciable difference in the audio quality. I don't know. Just taking a guess. It could be another microphone picking up, or that one's just truly that weird. But being the closest one to her and it not having the normal directional properties that any mic would have, even like omnidirectional microphones, yeah, it makes me wonder. They might not have even had her wired properly.
If a lion goes next door, kills the zebra baby, and eats it, it's okay because he's hungry. But if a person goes next door and kills a human baby and eats it because he's hungry, it's not okay, because humans are different than lions.
Why would a human being
Oh,
kill
that
another
doesn't,
baby?
why doesn't matter. If
No,
they
The why totally matters.
does matter,
no,
though.
if
It really
if a
does.
person is starving to death and they go next door and kill the neighbor baby and eat it, is that okay? It is for the lion. He's starving to death. Man, go kill that baby zebra.
No, because
Where's the moral standard? Where's the equivalency?
The moral standard is that, for one, yes, in their natural habitat, lions will kill other species, and there are other species who may kill each other to eat,
Right.
and to feed their young, and to feed. Actually, it's the lioness. It's the lioness that hunts. It's
Well,
not
sometimes
the
the lion
male
does.
No, it's the female. It's the one.
Yeah, the females in the pride go out and do the hunting. They're the ones you got to worry about. It's not the slow ass motherfucker with the giant ass mane. It's his lady friends. They're the ones who'll cut you up. Mightyfox VA here with Hovind doesn't even have a good education. He said he failed a 6th grade science test in one of his lives. Followed by, I feel so bad this woman is talking to a low IQ pedo sympathizer and LGBTQ hating person. Yep, just scum. Is he trying to apply morals to animals? Yeah. In a reversal, yeah.
Woman
Usually
lion,
the man
which shows
sits
that
home.
women do have, and females do ultimately have more power than
A whole
men.
other debate
Let's
on this
say
one.
that, yes.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yes. So,
Oh, great. I went to turn on the AC and now Cormier's in here. Also, Kent is one of those just idiots who says a whole nother.
yes, in their habitat, in which I think that many humans have disturbed. In their natural habitat, they do kill other species in order to eat and to feed their young, or to feed their
So
families.
humans disturb their habitat. So it's our fault the lion's eating the zebras.
No, it's not. That is what they do. Now,
Okay.
the scarcity of certain habitats are the fault of humans. I will say that. Yeah. Now, those who hunt for sport and not necessarily to eat. Yes. Now, another human being killing another human being just because. Now, There have been instances of humans having to eat other human beings for survival, but that was out of dire circumstances.
Right.
That was because they had nothing else and there was no other choice.
So was it okay?
No, I mean, hey, in those circumstances, it had to be. Now,
okay.
if someone just kills someone else or just takes another person's baby, of course that is wrong. Of course that is not just.
You say, of course, where's your standard? Why would it be wrong?
Because my standard is to treat other human beings, for one, like I want to be treated, and recognizing the intrinsic value of human beings, and that I am not going to just simply take someone's life simply because I can. There are consequences to that. There are ramifications to that.
Right.
And so I just would not do it.
But obviously some people think it is okay, and they do it all the time. How much theft is there in the world? For heaven's sake.
I don't know, Kent. What was your conviction about? How much theft was that?
You live in Atlanta. What's the theft rate up there,
Well, I mean, there are plenty of, I'm sure.
Ooh, what was he trying to say there? Ooh, Kent, you didn't hide that one very well.
There's what's considered theft everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm happy. I'm proud to live in the Atlanta area, even though y'all keep saying that, sorry for me, and I know y'all say that as a joke, but
shout out to the 404 from the 901.
It's perfectly fine. Yes, I am not blinded to the reality that there are some people who have to steal there are some people who steal clearly out of greed.
Yep.
There are people who steal simply because they feel like they need more than everybody else. There are others who steal or who feel like they need to steal because they don't have.
But it's wrong.
It is wrong. It is,
well,
first of all, it's wrong for them not to have it.
We're back to the standard.
And if there is a loving God, even according to your Bible,
Yeah, that was the most awesome thing from this entire interaction, is just her ability to be patient, to hold firm against someone like Kent Hovind. She did an incredible job.
To the book you believe in, then no one would have to steal. No one would have to be above the other. That would not be a thing. God's perfect word would not be subjected to people living below anybody else and giving the justification to others in order to subjugate them.
And you understand this is communism 101. Take from everybody, divide it equally. Of course, the leader gets more, but everybody gets.
No, communism is actually a system where everyone is pretty much on the same playing field.
That's what I said.
You're thinking of capitalism.
No.
That's what you're thinking.
Yeah. It's the funny thing is the straw man against communism actually winds up being a perfect analogy of the modern Western capitalism. Don't get me started.
We're going off. Joseph, we've been going almost an hour and a half. We probably have questions.
There we go. The classic Hovind's getting beat. I don't have a way to respond to that. Joseph, we've been going for too long. Help me out here. Joseph!
Questions lined up.
Yeah, we can do that because at the end of the day, and I will say this.
You know what? Next time I talk to DAL, Joseph, I need to work in a King of the Hill reference. I need to be like, dude, you know Dale Gribble isn't your dad, right? And just see if he gets the joke or not. He probably wouldn't. He's probably too busy snorting cocaine out of the pages of Exodus to have watched King of the Hill. But, I think it'd be funny.
I am an atheist because I do not believe in any existing claims of God, spirits, or supernatural beings. You believe that as a Christian and as a young earth creationist, that your Bible is that the earth is 10,000 years old and that your God created everything and that he intelligently designed people to even have this pen here. But, that I know that we are probably not going to agree on that, and that's fine. But I am asserting my position as an atheist just in case anyone, either in the audience or anyone who is watching here, has any type of misconception about who we are.
Okay. All right, Joseph, what questions do you have there? Or any from the audience here first? Yes, sir. Yeah, please come closer and talk louder.
At least he said please, but he still barked that order. Please come closer and talk louder, or else the Hovind will get you.
There, if you got a question, line up here so we can get on the record on the mic. Okay, go ahead, brother.
I know it's, I just heard about it. I didn't read it, so I don't remember what state on the top of my head, Mississippi or Louisiana, where they passed a law about the Ten Commandments.
I'm repeating it for the camera here.
Yeah.
They passed a law about the Ten Commandments being taught in school or something?
It's mandatory that it's got to be in every school in whichever state recently.
I don't. I've heard about
Correct.
that.
Yes, I have heard of that.
Do you think that that is a bad thing? And if so, like, then why do you think the Ten Commandments? What's wrong with the Ten Commandments?
First of all, the Ten Commandments, the question for people who did not hear that in the audience, the gentleman asked about the new Louisiana law that states that the Ten Commandments should be recited in schools. And so I do think that is a bad thing because, for one, it does not represent everyone's belief. First of all, there should always be a separation of religion and government. Everyone's belief, if you believe it, it should be private. It should not be forced into public policy. It should not be forced into public education. If there is a school, if there is a Christian school that wants to have the Ten Commandments cited, then that's fine. But in public schools, absolutely not. It is a gross violation of the separation of religion and government, or state and church. And it also does not represent everyone's perspectives. So therefore, you are trying to have Muslim children reciting the Ten Commandments in the Bible. You are having Jewish children who might be, and also non-religious children. That is a gross violation of separation of church and state. And if you want to keep that in religious schools or in your churches, keep it there and not in the public sphere.
Well, let me finish my side of the question.
You know, Marty, you mentioned Dragon Con. I've never been, but I am familiar with it because I spent that time in the con scene, and it's rather interesting. At least from my perspective here in Memphis, the volume of the ridiculously high volume, although I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but I am, of relatively hyper religious people who were into all all the kinds of anime, stuff, and all your fantasy, sci-fi, the whole 9 yards. And of course, that's a side effect of this stuff becoming super mainstream at this stage. But it's also interesting because you would think that would generally appeal more towards the less religious on a whole, but perhaps that also just shows the sheer penetration percentage of hyper-religiosity in at least the Memphis area, and with those kind of relatively well-to-do people who can hit every other convention.
This is why I've been saying evolution should not be taught either, because evolution is a religion that people believe in. If you wish to believe it, that's fine, but it should not be in public schools, should not be in government buildings. The government should have no influence, should have no financing of evolutionary research. If you wish to believe you're related to a potato, fine. I don't care that. If you wish to believe life came from non-living material, that's fine, but it's...
Look, he shows the chart for like half a second. Like he has to show the chart when he says that. He can't not do it. Such a creature of habit.
A religion's belief. It is not scientific, and it should be taken out of schools. If we're going to exclude religion from schools like she wants, then let's exclude evolution as well.
Evolution is not a religion.
It is definitely a religion.
It is not.
You have to believe all kinds of things to believe evolution.
No.
You need to watch my whole seminar. One follow-up question. Okay.
Do you have any personal problem or disagreement with the Ten Commandments itself being taught? Like, do you think there's anything wrong with the Ten Commandments specifically?
Well, certainly the idea that there should be no other God than me. Certainly, I and other folks who don't subscribe to Christianity would definitely have a problem with that.
Okay.
Now, there are other.
Thou shalt not steal.
Things that, thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not kill. There are certain things that could be considered moral guidelines or what have you. But if they are not equal across the board, which they are not in the Ten Commandments, everyone should not have to subscribe in any belief in the Christian God in order to, that belongs in your churches, that belongs in Christian schools, that does not belong in public schools. You can actually teach people or encourage people to be better human beings without it having a religious framework, so to speak. So yes, I do have the fact, I do take issue with the fact that the Ten Commandments, of all else,
Speaking of the 404, Stacy in the chat. Hey, hey.
and that's one of the first commandments, is that you shall have no other God than me. Everything else seems to be secondary or tertiary. And yes, there is a problem with that.
Okay, if the commandment said, thou shalt have no gods at all, would you be okay with that one?
No, because if people want to believe in a God, who am I to take that from them?
Yay.
Who am I to take that from you?
Okay, now you said should not be in public schools and government places because it does not represent everyone's view.
That is correct.
Evolution does not represent everyone's view.
Evolution is not a religious belief, and I will state that once again. It is not a religious belief.
Okay, and I will state it again. You are wrong.
Well,
Cassius with a great one here. He's Pavloved himself into doing the sign thing over millions of years of evolving into a dumbass. Nicely done.
A religious belief.
Hey, then we can go tap a tat about how wrong we are then.
Yeah, but I'm right. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Louder if you can.
Yeah.
So we know in the Old Testament, especially, it talks about slavery, instructions of how to beat your slave, how to treat your slave. Some of these follow into like the book of Philemon in the New Testament. Paul talks about some slavery. My first question is, do you think in any case slavery is moral? And if not, why don't you think somewhere in the Bible, it's never stated, but why wouldn't there be a commandment like thou shalt not own another human being?
Good question.
Yeah, so if we want to repeat that question, and thank you for answering that, sir. The question pertains to the fact that there are different ways to how to treat your slave that is listed in the Bible. And then why is there not a commandment that says that thou shalt not own another person or slave?
Good question. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I covered this a couple of weeks ago on our program. If you go back, remember what that one?
You know, you say that, Mighty Vox. One, that's of course not the actual definition of insanity. But two, Kent actually will bring that up a few times, that saying of doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Yeah.
Was question answer maybe? Does the Bible condone slavery? Slave ownership was common long before Moses came on the scene. God gave laws to, if you're going to have a slave, here's how you must treat them. That was not codified anywhere in anybody's law. If you had a slave, you could do whatever you want, even kill him, okay? So God did not come, he did not give the Ten Commandments to try to outlaw it. He said, if you're going to have it, here's the...
You know, the fact that Kent sits there and says that God has an authority to do whatever he wants. In effect, I'm majorly paraphrasing there, but, you know, it was perfectly right for God to do the flood, for this, that, the other that has ever occurred. Given Kent's ideas of the concept of slave ownership pre-Moses, it would only seem appropriate, even more so, to point out that every element of Christianity seems to involve being basically a slave to God. And the fact that the deity gets away with doing whatever, just like someone pre-Mosaic laws could get away with whatever to their slaves, yeah, it's not helping your case.
Rules about it. So watch my program from a few weeks ago where I cover all this. So slavery is wrong. Let me ask you a question, though. 2 million people are today incarcerated in the United States in jail. Is that slavery? They can't go where they want? We lock them up?
It's different from the slavery we're talking about.
Why?
You know, it's pretty fucked up that a person carrying, you know, jack diddly shit worth of weed in this country might wind up with a prison sentence 3 times the length of what you had to serve when you defrauded the government of millions of dollars. It's pretty fucked up. Guy who just likes to get high might spend 30 in the joint. You don't pay your taxes for 3 decades, barely spend 10.
You take away a person's freedom, you lock him in a cage. I think we should close down all the jails. In the Bible, it's very simple. For crimes, you either get a fine or a beating or executed. If someone rapes and murders your daughter, he goes to jail for 20 years. You got to feed him now for 20 years and worry about him getting out. It'd be much better.
Yeah, like we had to feed Hovind for 10 years and then worry about him getting out. Oh, wait, he did, and he's back to his same shit?
Better psychologically if you could watch. He committed a crime. He murdered your daughter. He should be executed publicly. You can weep for a few weeks or months and get over it and go on with life. Our system and the Bible, I have 1,000
Yeah, except that stuff doesn't really stop anybody. Any rate's higher than anything else.
men when I was in jail. I did a survey for my book. If you were given an option after you're found guilty of the crime, whatever the crime is, doesn't matter, you're guilty. And the judge says, you want 5 years in prison or 20 lashes. Which would you take? All but one of them said, I'd take the 20 lashes. I get to go home. I'm hurting for a couple of weeks, but I go home. 5 years in prison, what's your wife supposed to do now? How's she supposed to pay for the groceries? So the biblical method of handling crime is fine.
Probably the same way she did before, given that two people working full-time jobs can barely keep up with stuff in some parts of this country. She's just going to find herself someone else. You know, like your wife, I don't think actually did. I don't know if she got remarried. I don't give a shit one way or the other. I don't think she did. We'd have known that by now. She sure as hell said, fuck you, Kent. Rightfully so. Also, if one for the motion blur, we got Fire and Brimstone Kent right here. Fire and Brimstone Hovind.
Them. You steal my sheep, you pay back 4 sheep. Everybody goes home happy. Now you steal my sheep, you go to jail for 5 years. I got to feed you for 5 years, and your family goes on welfare, and I got to feed them too. We're robbing everybody. The system doesn't work. I'd banish all jails.
Yeah, there you go, Hovind. Taxation is theft, Hovind.
But yes, prison is a form of slavery. So is taxation.
I think I'm talking about taking an innocent person away from their family chains and putting them in forced labor.
Jails do that a lot. Judges make money off the prison system. So yeah, I know, but my point is, prisons do the same thing. Take them. Some people, innocent people, take them away, lock them up away from their family.
Why do you think there was never a commandment that thou shalt not own another people?
Well, in the New Testament there is, okay? But in the Old Testament, the law came along. People were already doing it. God didn't try to just simply abolish it. He said, look, if you're going to have one, here's how you got to treat them. The law, there's a different reason. I didn't hear that. What now?
What was the passage in the New Testament you said it already does?
Well, I don't think it, I'd have to, I'm not prepared. Yeah, there are verses, I don't have them in front of me, but there are verses in the Bible against that, okay? But yeah, prisons is a form of slavery. In the Bible, you get a fine or beating or executed, not prison. So I'm going to when I become king, I'm shutting down all the prisons.
Wow, just cover Mandisa with that shit. But of course, that's the way it's set up in a stupid slot. Like, picture-in-picture shit on there and their restream muxing, but damn.
I'm going to give the guys an option. Hey, actually, if somebody murdered your daughter and raped and murdered your daughter and he's in prison, I'm going to give him the option. Would you like me to let you out? You got to live at his house now? Let you handle it.
Yeah, it
Well,
definitely sounds like.
I answered the question. God did not come along. Slavery already existed around the world. He didn't attempt to. It was a fact. It existed. It's wrong, okay? But God came along, gave the law, and says, "Oh, well, I don't know. Ask him when you get there." Wow. He did not say. He did not say, "Don't have slaves." At this point, he said, "Look, if you're going to have one," and he didn't say you should have them. Is you working a job for somebody 8 hours a day and they give you a paycheck? Is that a form of slavery? You got to be at the job 8 hours.
He didn't condemn slavery either, and no, the employment is not slavery. You can leave at any time. You're going to have problems elsewhere, but the job ain't keeping you there. We joke of it being slavery. We make jokes of slave wages and stuff, but that's just us being hyperbolic because still a little unpleasant. Thankfully, the fact that we can make those jokes means that very, very thankfully, we have otherwise grown up in a situation where, and we're living in a situation where we aren't actually slaves, to where relative cushiness, getting paid for our work, having set times, and not being, for the most part, demanded to devote our entire existence to these jobs, in all seriousness, pretty damn cushy. And so we complain about relatively minor shit. And I think for a lot of us, the hyperbolic nature of that type of comedy is not being disrespectful to the actual history of slavery, of people who are slaves in the modern era, but as a matter of poking fun at the fact that this shit is actually extremely cushy, yet we're still going to complain about it because from our perspective, it still sucks. But we know it could be a whole lot worse.
No, it's not. No.
Okay. So you have to, well, isn't that what slavery is? I'll feed for you. Oh, yeah.
No, it's
You
not.
work in my field, I'll give you a house and a food to live. And
No, that is not.
this is a
slavery
whole
at
different
all.
argument on evolution and atheism. But so, yeah.
Yeah.
But that would be, I think, a poor reason to reject the Bible because God did
Yeah, Michael, slavery existed before God. We'll let Hovind figure out the problem with that eventually.
not choose to address it at that time.
What do you
What was it?
Yeah, Nubifier, with those knobheads not realizing that every single road then becomes a toll road.
Yeah, but at all is the question. If you don't like God's morals, of course you can do as you please. But then society gets together and says, "Well, we're going to have some rules. You don't go this fast on this road, or we're going to give you a fine, or take away your driver's license, or something, or lock you up." Society can set their own rules. We set rules for this campus. If you want to live on this little property, you can't drink.
Oh, so it's a campus now.
You can't take drugs. You say, "I got a right to drink." Okay, go out on the street, drink, don't come back. So, okay, you have a right to make rules in your house. That's fine. It's private property ownership, which is biblical. Okay, yes, sir.
So there's a clear distinction between mankind and animals. We are unique in the universe. That's clear to tell.
Yes, Deviant. Kent is effectively defending slavery while talking to a black American woman.
There's no pack of dogs that has ever organized a charity drive. There's no group of monkeys that have ever organized a vote that we're aware of. We are special. Creationists call it a soul. Atheists call it sentience. Can you point to me the transitional fossil where we evolved this sentience, where we evolved this thing that puts us so far above any other thing on Earth?
Well, first of all, I don't think we are that far above. And also, as you are defining it as far as charity drives and such, yes, as human beings, we had the ability to communicate differently. Actually, there are species of bonobos and monkeys that have communities that do for each other. They just don't communicate the same way that we do. Now, sir, I'm still speaking though. No, I'm not.
Nowhere in the scale. For instance, take slavery. We know that there was a group of people that enslaved another group of people, and to justify that, we have the North invade the South and rectify it. We don't see that anywhere in the animal kingdom. There is no group of animals that tries to rectify a community wrong anywhere.
Again, that is because, and now you are sitting up there interrupting me for one, which was very rude.
You have to answer the question.
No, excuse me, first of all, I don't appreciate how you are talking to me right now, and don't do.
Oh, I totally forgot about this. She ain't having none of it. I just wish we could actually hear. I swear to God, the voice sounds like Joseph, but I don't know who's talking a little more clearly.
Do that because I did not talk to you like that. Now I'm sitting up here. I'm not speaking as a scientist who can actually go word for word through the entire process. None of us here can, clearly. But I don't think that we are so far above certain animal species that we can simply say that we are just simply above them simply because we may do things differently and we communicate differently and we've been able to do things to this earth transformatively, some for better and some not so good, because we are definitely dealing with environmental issues because of human beings. Animals did not create that. We are certainly dealing with pollution. We are dealing with so many different things as far as food insecurity, to where we've had to create these drives for, nope, you answered your question. I'm answering your, nope, next question, sir. Nope, nope.
Done. Move on.
Nope.
Go to the end of the line, come back again. Yes, ma'am.
So you were asked, where do you get your moral framework?
And I responded to that, yes.
Basically, it's the do unto others model. realize that where you're getting your basis for the do unto others model is found in Matthew 7:12.
Actually, there are older schools of thought that do have do unto other the golden rule, what is considered the golden rule. Sure, excuse me?
Just because something's older doesn't make it better.
But you know what? That is right, and also that there is some truth to that. But however, like I said, there are schools of thought. I didn't say that there was never anything in the Bible that people couldn't learn from.
I'm just saying your moral framework is
My moral
founded in
framework.
Scripture.
No, it's not. It comes from varied forms. It comes from different forms and different, like I said, my parents, my community. It comes from different things that I've read, different things that I've learned. If that is in the Bible as far as do unto others, then great. Everyone should learn from that. But does that make the God that you believe in real? No.
Thanks, Soot. I'm glad you can tell. I don't know these people. All I know is they're all varying degrees of pieces of shit. Some seem redeemable, others are absolute garbage.
But the whole argument, there's no reason to be good without God.
No, there's actually plenty of reasons to be good without God. If you look at many of the wars that were fought in the name of God, where millions of people died, then you would certainly say that this God is not good. And like the question of slavery came up before, the fact that there is something that says God did not stop slavery. You mean to tell me that there's good in that? So there's a God that is sitting around watching all of these things happen in the world, but yet he's sitting around doing absolutely nothing. You think that's good?
I don't know.
Or there's a moral code that comes from that.
Okay, well, just because someone does something in someone's name doesn't mean that the person that they're doing that in their name endorses the quality of what they're doing. I could run around and do something in Dr. Hovind's name, but that doesn't necessarily mean he endorses what I'm doing.
Well, Dr. Hovind could certainly put his foot down on that and say that this is wrong. And because he is an existing entity, then we would actually hear him do that.
And God does.
No, he really doesn't at the end of the day.
Okay.
Like, let's be serious for a very brief moment. If we were at DAL, any one of us, we would, to the best of our abilities, obey the rules of Dinosaur Adventureland, whatever they may be. Because while we may not like Kent Hovind to any degree, or the people there, they still exist. And we're in their space. So we're going to whatever degree we see fit. And again, I'm being very serious here on the thought experiment of this. Behave appropriately within, I'd say within reason, Kent isn't against, being challenged a bit. If we want to, get into a little back and forth, we'll do that. But we aren't going to go there and just start, tearing shit up. Kent, we may not like Kent, but we know he exists, so we will still follow those rules that he's established for his area. Which creates an interesting contrast with the deity that, again, we don't know exists and most certainly will not follow those rules because those rules are subjectively and objectively garbage for the most part. And any that are good aren't unique or special. It's just an interesting thought, and Mandisa going through this kind of tripped that in my head of like, yeah, we know Kent exists, so his dominion, DAL, will behave in like I do in his in the live streams when I do chat, at least when it was on Genesis Baptist Church when that still existed. I'd behave myself in the side chat, be a little snarky, a little funny, but otherwise polite. And we'd exude the same to anyone, sort of a win in Rome kind of situation. Because we respect these entities that actually exist. They at least get a base level of you exist and you haven't caused me any explicit harm in this moment. Ergo, I'm going to at least be a decent, reciprocation of that to some degree. Even though with Hovind, it's going to be, he's going to say some crap in 2 seconds. It's going to piss you off, at least for that split second. I don't know. It's just an interesting thought that kind of came up and tried to formulate anyway. It's too early in the morning, but I wanted to get this knocked out. Words, English, an extreme, all Korean, baby. I don't know much Korean, so it's not gonna go very well.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
Just a simple yes or no will do, Glenn. Do you believe you are a primate?
Actually, yes, we are primates. We are primates. Yes, we are.
But this goes back to definition of terms. I don't think the animals care at all how we classify them. They know what to look for in a mate. Okay? They don't.
But Kent, one of the key aspects of your Genesis story, when you talk about kinds and stuff, is Adam being able to name all the animals. What does it matter that he named them?
Don't even know that we're classifying them. Carolus Linnaeus made up the classification system we currently use: kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. And to say someone is a primate is to slap a label on of a classification that the animals don't care about. We could label all the tools in the shop as hammers because they're made out of steel, and you can pound a nail in with a wrench. Therefore, it's a hammer. You can pound a nail in with.
I'll call Kent Dr. Hovind when he calls me Dr. Yamato. Or Dr. Tomato. Lord Yamato would also suffice. I'd actually prefer Lord Yamato, but I don't think he'll do that.
The screwdriver. Therefore, it's a hammer. So it's this whole classification thing is silly. The animals don't care how we classify them. They don't even know we're classifying them. And they know what to look for in a mate. We got 2 cows that are pregnant on the North 40. They're up there mixed in with the donkeys and the sheep and the possums and the squirrels and the armadillos. I promise you, they're going to have a calf. That cow didn't even think about looking at the sheep as a mate. And they don't even.
But the sheep sure was looking at the cow. What can I say? Old Fluffy there's a chubby chaser.
Even know what they look like. The cow doesn't know what he looks like, but he knows what to look for in a mate. So I think that God designed them to bring forth after their kind. All scientific observation for all of human history would say that works. It's all we've ever seen. When God said they bring forth after their kind, that's all we've ever seen. This is not science. This is somebody's religious belief that all these kinds of animals came from a common ancestor. You can believe that if you wish, but please don't call it science. Nobody's ever seen a whale produce a non-whale. There might be 20 kinds of whales now. They might have diversified, but they're still whale. But they got whale connected to the butterfly. You can tell all of them. Kent Hovind said, that's stupid. And I'll debate them all. Real stupid. Tell them all. Okay? Bring them on. Go ahead, brother.
Hi, my name is Jeff Stafidi, and I was an acquaintance of Jeffrey Dahmer. Now, he killed these people.
Get it where they hear it. You were an acquaintance of Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer.
And he had killed these people at 8 parts of their body because he wanted some of their attributes. He wanted their skin.
Bringing up Jeffrey Dahmer, I look over back on my TV stand and there's that piece of concrete, and it's like, I got an acquaintance of Jeffrey Dahmer too. He probably walked on that stone. Not kidding either.
He wanted muscles in his arms. He wanted to run faster. Now, where does his morals come from?
Now,
This boy just seriously asked where morals come from again. How are they so fixated on asking the same questions over and over? Oh, right, because those are the only ones they have. And once they're answered, they just start back at the beginning of the loop.
you're
Once the counter increments down to 0, it loops back to the beginning of the routine.
You're asking about, so the question is, where did Jeffrey Dahmer's morals come from? Actually, having watched documentaries and reading up on Jeffrey Dahmer, I'm not sure that's entirely accurate. He definitely, because he didn't just simply kill black men. He actually first killed young white men. And that was out of, according to the documentaries and the research on him, that was due to his trying to satisfy his need for companionship. And when these guys tried to leave him, he killed them. And
Yeah, you want to know the really fucked up thing about Jeffrey Dahmer's story is that he did what he did because in his own very twisted way, he loved those people. Obviously, I'm not defending anything he did in the slightest. It's it was the act of them wanting to go was what set off the no, you can't leave, and I'm going to make sure you can't leave function. And that's because he didn't want to be alone. He had abandonment issues. And he liked those people. It's really fucked up. Really, really fucked up, obviously. But if you think about it more, you see the tragic side in his own psyche and his own perspective on things. You can somewhat empathize in the drive to not be alone. And yet still at the same time, of course, never think that's the action you'd go through to not be alone. Because it's multifaceted. You know, he was definitely screwed up. It's just weird. It's one of those very weird cases. And I think those of us who look into it in more depth than the conventional way a lot of people know these things, that part of the understanding of it kind of keeps drawing you in to sort of restudy the case and try to reanalyze everything in the greater scale of how his childhood, how growing up, how his parents divorcing, and any other additional factors all played together for him to start doing what he did in Bath, Ohio, then in Milwaukee. It's the same thing with John Wayne Gacy and a lot of others. There's a lot more to it than people think when a person just happens to have interest in these serial killer stories. Most of the time, it's the psychology that I think seems to really latch on to people, even if they can't express it fully, like what fascinates them. And so, much like, you know, going over details of World War II again and again, you develop this even more refined, slightly sharper image of everything each time for whatever value that has.
Yes, he did. He did eat parts of their bodies. Now, as far as him wanting darker skin, I'm not sure if you said you were an acquaintance of his, and did he say that, or did that come out of his mouth, or
It wasn't darker skin. He wanted to get their skin, their texture.
well, no,
No, he didn't. You know jack all about Dahmer, Kent, and I would love to debate you. You know, that's a debate I'd want to have with you, Kent. A debate on Jeffrey Dahmer.
I'm not sure if it was just assumed or it was found out later, but that's what I had found out.
Okay, so again, that I think that's disputed. I mean, I'm not, and also I'm not kind of sure where I'm sure he grew up with both his parents. He certainly did not have a perfect childhood. I think there was something that could have been, there could have been something in him that some sort of trauma, whether it was mental or emotional in some way. I don't know exactly what caused that. It could be a number of things that define serial killers and how they operate. Now, they may think that they are doing something moral, maybe they know it's wrong, but I don't think that was a good moral to kill innocent people and then take parts of their bodies because he may have wanted to, that he may have wanted to graft them and to make him look that to me.
He didn't. His goal was to build a shrine to these people. A celebration of the people he found to be the most beautiful, the most he cared for. Again, it's really fucked up. This is some real what the hell's going on in your head kind of shit. But that was what Dahmer was wanting to do. He explained this in detail. He drew pictures of the altar he wanted to make. We know it because he explained it to us. Now, I don't know how the hell you'd have something like that hanging out in your apartment at 924 North 25th Street, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and not eventually have somebody come in and be like, what the fuck is that? But hey, I would say you do you, but no. Bad Jeff. Very bad. Work at the chocolate factory. Stop doing that. Oh, wait, he got fired. Sorry, I could go into detail on Dahmer. I need to do a refresher because it's been a while. But we could have a whole stream dedicated to the Dahmer story if you wanted to.
Is and ironically, speaking of Jeffrey Dahmer, I guess he found his faith in prison. So there's no
Dahmer's conversion is an interesting case because I think it was a matter of desperation or possibly his psyche shifting once again. He may have been one of those people who drastic shifts would occur over periods of time in life. I don't know. I mean, we all have little shifts, but I think his would have been a complete like shift, switch, flip. Apparently, it was the same day that John Gacy was executed, and it was the day of an eclipse, which is funny because I remember that eclipse in late third grade. I don't know if that was just the Dahmer documentary mixing it all together, but I think I looked it up and it's like, oh yeah, it was the same day. That's pretty freaking wild. Yeah, but you know, that is what it is. That's a prison story, and he'd be gone a few months later.
no telling whether or not he found that was wrong later. So if you're asking about whether he felt it was moral at the time he was doing it, or maybe he found it or it changed later, because people's sense of morality can possibly change depending on their experience, depending on what they've learned. So that's kind of a question that is broad, if you will, because you have to be talking about different areas of, different aspects of his life. And so, and because of course he's not here.
Also, for those of you who wanted to know my thoughts on the Dahmer miniseries from a few years back, I thought they did a wonderful job on the inside of his apartment. They didn't even try with the exterior of the Oxford. It's not at all the same. Nothing about anything in that was the same. The demolition scene was an absolute fucking joke. Characterization was pretty good. I don't like the composite character of the neighbor. I wish it had actually been more accurate to the real people. But then again, getting approval for the likenesses might have been a bit of an issue for their identity, so to speak. So a composite character sort of made sense. Other elements of the Oxfords were still wrong. Jeff's apartment was real good. His characterization was real good. Yeah, that's what I remember from it.
Here to
Defend himself.
answer that, then we're just speculating. Yeah. You're welcome.
So is it possible for a person like Jeffrey Dahmer to change later in life and get actually converted and say they're sorry and wrong? Is it?
Well, I mean, he certainly did. Do I think that he was properly held accountable for his actions? I guess.
As far as if aspects of Christianity were true, as far as my understanding and what I think would be the most valid form of it, if I can even say such goes, Dahmer would be perfectly fine because of said repentance and the like, going through the proper ritual which allows one to be free of these actions, of the penalty of these actions. So, Dahmer, possibly Hitler, all kinds of horrible people up there doing good, but Hitchens, Hawking, James Randi, all burning.
The way he died may show that.
Sad. Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. Correct. Well, I can show you all the scientific articles. The scientists are all agreeing. They've measured the distance to the moon several different ways. Parallax trigonometry is one way, but let's see. I got that.
Parallax trigonometry is one way.
Slide number 1, seminar part 1. Well, she asked. Well, I can say all of the scientific evidence is that the moon is moving away. There's mathematical ways to do that.
Okay, this is going to be weird, but do y'all want a dedicated Dahmer stream sometime? Discussing his story, discussing his case? Do y'all want that? I'm not against it. It'd just be a drastic change and something I would have to really prep and prepare for. Prep and prepare. Prepare for, plan for, work out a plan of action. I'd be down for doing it. And also, I'm a little bummed that the stressed work time of the holiday season caused me to miss the 30th anniversary of his death because I wanted to write a piece for that. Not at all in any kind of celebration of him, of course not. But in a matter of continuing to show the passage of time and refresh to people how things went at the end, in the same way I do other events historically. But if y'all want like a dedicated stream on like Dahmer, the Love Canal story, all kinds of stuff, I could do that. I'm totally game for that. I just have to plan more since this is no longer me reacting and giving opinion. This is now me discussing actual fact with opinion in detail. So it's a slight gear shift, but I'm open to it.
Optical. The moon's close. The moon's close enough to know, to measure. Okay. Some of the other planets are not. Pardon me? To measure the distance to something, well, I taught trigonometry for years. That's not what I wanted here. Measure the distance.
No, deviant. I was born in '85. No idea where you got 1990 from. No. Gacy's execution and Dahmer's conversion were both at the time of an eclipse in 1994. I remember I was in 3rd grade, May 10th, 1994. Went through the area, so it was funny being in 3rd grade, looking out and seeing it dark outside. So yeah, like I said, 3rd grade, I was it was 9. Sorry, took me a moment. Yeah, I was 9. And yeah, Dahmer was arrested in July of 1990, June 21st, 1991. Double checking. Double checking the date. Why didn't I just go to ChatGPT? Okay, July. Sorry, it was July, not June. July 22nd, 1991. Anyway, it's too early in the morning. I got the damn cat wanting in the room again. You're not coming in, Dwayna. Yeah. So, and I have vague memories of that having happened. The arrest and the barrel and everything. And then, a couple of years ago, I'd go to Milwaukee and go to that very spot. I stood where the barrel was. I walked that side alley. Took a piece of pavement. It was there. They had broken it up doing some work on stuff. Just one of those things you do. Don't get too many opportunities to travel. I'm going to be in Milwaukee. I'm going to get my money's worth.
Distance to the moon. There it is right here.
Yeah.
Well, the point. Yeah, I think you're missing the point, though. 238.9 thousand miles. Right. Parallax. Yeah, parallax. It probably take observation over a long period of time and be complex mathematics. You have to take into consideration the rotation of the Earth. Well, I'll just show you the articles themselves. What's that?
Kent, here's the thing. You don't really have to take in consideration of the rotation of the Earth and the like. You don't have to get that nitty gritty with some of these processes because they can be simplified and you get accurate enough measurements. These additional factors aren't going to fudge things to the degree you think they will.
Oh, NASA. I don't know if I need any help on this, but go ahead. All right. And they put it up there. Even before that, they knew the moon was moving away. We shine a laser light at it. That's assuming the speed of light's always constant. But let me finish. Let me reiterate my point. They measured the distance.
Well, to shut up Hovind and talk about Dahmer, Deviant, his switch from starting to do the things he did got flipped back in '78, Bath, Ohio. Then he took a while. Then he went to the Ambassador Hotel, blacked out and had the second incident happen, then proceeded to have a couple more, and then when he got his apartment at 924 North 25th Street, that was when shit hit the fan. Incidentally, I didn't realize also that in my time in Milwaukee, I would have gone past the apartment block that was his previous apartment before the Oxfords. Forget the name of them. He wasn't there for very long. None of the major events happened there. But yeah, I would have gone by there as well. And no, we certainly did not go to East Alleys and see his grandmother's house. I had to pull teeth to get my buddy to agree to go out to North 25th Street, which is still just outside of downtown Milwaukee. So yeah,
Distance to the moon before there was a mirror on the moon. They didn't wait. Yeah, they measured the distance to the sun thousands of years ago.
So my question to you is, what's going to happen to you?
need to measure the distance to the Hovind.
The moon will gradually drift away from us. The moon is moving away.
Actually, Soot and Devi, you are probably some of the furthest away from Hovind in the stream right now, unless we got some like good old Aussies or something in the chat. I think y'all rank as furthest away from Hovind.
No have to be mistaken. All confidence, no doubt. 0% is all doubt, no confidence. You just said that the moon would go away from us. I'm confident you in that statement.
All I can take is all the evidence we've seen for several hundred years of observation is the moon is moving away. We don't know of anything that's going to stop that. And we know it's a
Yeah, Hovind completely chokes on speed of light. It's one of those glorious things that just tears everything apart for him, because he cannot work around it other than to just cry, "A light year's distance, not time."
Am I 100% sure that the moon's going to continue moving away? I think based on all observations so far, I'd say I'm 100% correct. The moon is going to move away, continue moving away. I guess we'd have to see some scientific evidence of it stop moving.
Nino, I did not know that. Interesting.
Moving or start coming closer. We've seen no scientific evidence of any animal producing a different kind.
It seems like the distance of the moon to the Earth is really crucial to your scientific worldview.
No. I believe the Bible is true before I knew about the moon moving away.
That's also important.
Right.
So it's really not the reason why. It's kind of a smokescreen.
You put that up, Beth?
Give you kind of pat on the back. But even if you were to accept that,
Why is the moon leaving us? Because it doesn't want to be close to Hovind.
well, maybe I'm mistaken on the moon was maybe 1.2. Even if you were to be convinced that your view of the moon Earth system is incorrect, you would still believe in the God. Is that correct?
I'm open to any observation. I've seen no way to explain complex things without a God. I admit I believe in God. It's my religious belief. She does not admit she has a religious belief that there is no God. The moon.
You keep saying that, Kent. That doesn't make it true.
But that's okay.
The moon is.
I'm interested in the real reason why you believe in your God. And the moon seems to be an example to it.
No. The moon is a factor about the age of the Earth. The Earth could be billions of years old and still be made by God.
Check note that you acknowledge that, Kent. Because then if you say it could be billions of years old made by God, okay, then you can't bitch about the billions of years if you acknowledge the deity could have done that. All right, give me a second. My dumb self clicked something and made things disappear. I'm gonna fix that real quick. All right, are we back to normal? Nah, wrong option. There we go. Right option.
No, because no, there's probably No, there's 40 different ways. Let me give you an example. Okay. If somebody claimed this Bic pen, no, this will answer your question. Yeah, I think you did. I think you did too. Okay. I think you made your point very well. Right. Now, if somebody told me this pen was 5,000.
Yeah, one of us should ask him about that someday. I guess the moon was just floating around up there. And the Earth had that crystalline canopy over it that he obsesses over. Also, don't you love that Hovind is so inept, so boring, and just so much of a waste of focus that this conversation, or this stream, the tail end of it's just been about Jeffrey Dahmer rather than him? Because it really has been.
1,000 years old, I would point out ballpoint pens weren't invented until 1888. That would prove the 5,000-year claim wrong. I still don't know when it was made, but it proves that claim wrong. Then you could say it's made in plastics. Plastics weren't made until 1907. Bic wasn't even a company.
Kent, you went over this about an hour and 40-some minutes ago when you started this debate.
Until 1946. There are lots of ways to prove it's not 5,000 years old. I don't know how old it is, nor do I care, but I know it's not 5,000. So if somebody wishes to claim the Earth is billions of years old, the moon is just one of the ways to disprove that claim. Just like the fact that plastics were made in 1907 is a way to disprove this is 5. Because there are many other scientific evidences that it's less than millions of years old. The moon is, sir, get a life. Listen to me. The moon is not. The moon is not.
Get a lot. Take your own advice, Kent. God damn.
Central to my presentation. Okay, there are hundreds. There are probably 40 different scientific clear ways, and many other ways that indicate the Earth is not billions of years old. The Earth is spinning. We're spinning around. We're slowing down 1,000th of a second every day. That's been measured. That's why we have a leap second. Google it, leap second. That's another indication it can't be billions of years old. Step outside and you'll see the sun is burning 5 million tons of fuel every second. Well, that's an indication it can't be billions of years old. It's burning up its fuel.
Stars don't burn, and you don't understand the mass of the sun.
The sun is burnt. The sun is burnt. Go look at it. It's burning. So I go through my video number 1, 30 or 40 or 50, whatever, different ways to show. Well, the moon is one of the many ways I say it's not billions of years old.
And my question is, how do you get to be so confident? And if you were mistaken, how would you determine that? And what you're showing me is that your epistemology, your ability to know things, is.
And you're showing me you're determined to have billions of years to make your frog turn into a prince, right?
Wow.
Okay. Well, I think there is plenty of scientific evidence this is not 5,000 years old. Right. I like science. The scientific evidence says the Earth can't be billions of years old for lots of scientific reasons.
Kent hates science. We all know it. I just have to stress it every single time.
The population of the Earth is growing. The salt in the ocean is increasing. Watch my video number 1. Now, if you could prove the Earth was billions of years old, that's only the first obstacle you have to overcome for evolution. Now you got to get life starting from the soup. Now you got to get matter. How did matter get here? Where did matter come from to begin with? Yeah, time, space, matter. Where did they come from? So the time, getting billions of years is the first obstacle that evolutionists of hundreds they have to overcome, which they avoid. Yes, sir.
I just want to say thanks for being here for this forum.
Yeah.
I can say that I love you because the God who created this world commanded me.
Dog Walker, he could be referring to more modern thermoplastics. So I think that's around the invention time of them. I am relatively sure of this because of the whole thing with me liking phones, that the Bell system didn't make phones out of Bakelite like a lot of people want to think, because they think all plastic is Bakelite. No, every plastic component used in Bell system hardware was proper thermoplastic.
To love one another. And the conversation back and forth, I think, is done from spirit of love, because Brother Kent and the rest of the folks here that are saved by the precious blood of Christ can love you
because he loved us first. And the God who created us could get a message to us called the Bible. And God can authenticate that message by telling history before it happens. As an example, you talked about Isaac being offered by Abraham. The Jewish people use that as a model of something that's going to come yet in the future, where another father was going to offer his son, and a substitution was going to happen. Or other examples of history before it's telling history before it happens, including the timing of Christ's birth, the location of his birth, the fact that he was going to be born of a virgin. All those.
And the original word simply meant maiden. This obsession with the whole virgin concept is really disturbing from Christians. I've always found that creepy.
Things point together that God wrote the Bible and he authenticated it by telling history before it happened. There are other examples from people that are more articulate than myself, and I hope that someday you'll come to the realization that God has something very special in mind for you, and that this might have been the point where a seed might have been planted.
Well, I certainly appreciate your comments there. I appreciate you coming to this debate. I don't agree with what you said at all, but
Yet.
Note they turned up the gain and stuff, and ooh, I paused right on the yet. Fuck you. Whoever that is at DAL, fuck you.
I think that
Yet.
no, I do think that there are older forms of the Immaculate Conception story, like the story of Horus and Osiris and Isis. There are older, and yes, there has been Jewish mythology, which is basically the Old Testament of the Bible. So there are things that people believe, and far be it from me as a non-believer in any of them to try to take that from you. However, I would not simply say that, well, you're going to just simply come to the realization that you're wrong. If you choose to believe that, then okay. But as long as you're making an informed decision about what you believe or don't believe, then that's fine. Then we can probably exist better. Now, do I think am I ever going to believe in a Christian God? No, I will not. And I'm okay with that. That is a part of what y'all call my salvation. I am at peace with that. I am okay with not believing in any forms of God, spirits, or supernatural beings due to the lack of evidence in them. Does that mean that we can't be better human beings for each other? Absolutely not. We certainly can. So, but thank you for that. I certainly thank you for, being able to engage in this conversation and listen.
No more from here. Any more on the line there, brother? I think this type of discussion has been going on for centuries, so I don't know if we're going to solve it today.
No, of course not.
Okay. No. Dr. Hovind, would abnormalities, mutations, deformities, disability, mental illness, etc., be categorized as sin, God's judgment on mankind? Absolutely not. I'm covering the book of Job in my studies on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday in our Bible study. Job had all kinds of problems, and it wasn't caused by sin. Sometimes it is. I mean, you could smoke cigarettes all your life and destroy your lungs. You can't blame God for that. You stuck the butt in your mouth and sucked on it, so it's your fault. Don't blame God. So I think some people do cause butt in your mouth and sucked on it. Smoke cigarettes all your life and destroy your lungs. You can't blame God for that.
Here we go. Everyone, get ready to record. Like you can't just pull this. I don't know. It's funny to hear.
You stuck the butt in your mouth and sucked on it. So
You're stuck the butt in your mouth and sucked on it.
it's your fault. Don't blame God. So I think some people do cause their own problems. If you run your car with no oil, it's going to burn the motor up, and don't blame Ford for that. You did it, okay? But some.
No, Kent, the motor is going to seize due to the heat, metal expanding because it's hot, in addition to combustion byproducts. You need the oil lubrication. You need the oil. Absorb a little bit of that heat. Most of it goes through the rest of the mass, but yeah. It's not how engines fail, Kent.
Some of our problems we create ourselves. Sometimes it's other neighbors creating the problem. Hitler created a lot of problems for people. Okay, so it's not a simple answer to that. Sometimes it is God's judgment. But okay, any comments on that one?
No.
Okay, go ahead. Where's a single-celled organism ever turned into a complex organism? Why has evolution stopped? If nothing produced everything, then why does my empty hand not explode? I'll leave that one for you.
For one, scientists have never claimed that evolution has ever stopped. You know, we are always, species are evolving. There may be some sort of species, there are some species that probably have probably stopped producing anatomically or biologically. But if we're talking about evolution in the literal sense, then there are always going to be things that evolve. And if we're comparing, you know, nature to things like pens that are man-made, like comparing apples to oranges, then let's say that as human beings, we tend to evolve. And so that could be in our brains. You know, that certainly, you know, there are certainly plenty of viruses and things that tend to evolve and mutate depending on their habitat. So there are always things that are evolving, even if you may not simply see it in those simple terms.
Well, the reason I use the pen example so often, and atheists will pick on that and say, well, these don't reproduce. Adding the ability to reproduce greatly increases the problem for them.
No, it doesn't, Kent.
This is a simple illustration. This thing couldn't evolve, and adding reproduction to it, it multiplies many times the problem they have. They're welcome to believe whatever you want to believe.
Actually, humans have actually improved the use of pens over the years. There was a time where you would dip a feather in ink, but we don't do that anymore.
It took intelligence, didn't it?
No, it took ingenuity.
Oh, there we go. Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Okay.
But certainly ingenuity and
Right,
trying
right,
to make things
right.
more, probably more feasible for everyone else. So therefore, there are different ways. It doesn't necessarily mean that. Well, certainly God didn't do it. So
Certainly God did.
No.
So for the lion to chase the zebra, man, he gets tired. Why didn't the lions invent a car or a skateboard or something?
Well, because they are, you know what, they can move that. But the car was certainly patented probably after, an animal that can go on 4 legs. Certainly something that runs on 4 legs is faster than something that runs on 2.
Oh, I don't know about that. Ostrich go pretty fast.
Well, they probably
and birds, they don't use their legs at all. They go really fast in the air.
Yeah, because they have wings, they fly.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay, Joseph, next question. Here's the truth. No human being was alive when the earth or even the universe was created. How do people come to a place where they assume it was a God with 0% proof? Well, that's where Music Man, I'll answer that first. I think it's for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think when you see something complex, you assume there's a designer. If I'm walking through our gravel pit and find an arrowhead, it's also made out of stone, like the rest of the rocks around here. But I would know intuitively somebody designed this. It's an arrowhead, and it's designed for a reason. And so I think I would assume it'd be silly to say an arrowhead could make itself by natural processes, exfoliation or thermal expansion or whatever, abrasion. So I think to see a cell under the microscope and say, wow, this thing has a DNA code. The DNA code from one person tied together would stretch across the solar system twice. That's the code to make a human. If someone wishes to believe nobody designed that, I think that's foolish. But they can believe it, but don't call it science. To see an arrowhead laying in the gravel pit, it would be foolish to say nobody made it. To find a screw or a nut or a bolt laying on the driveway would be foolish to say nobody created it. Somebody made the nut or the bolt or the screw or the nail. And it's foolish to say there is no God. The Bible says the fool said in his heart there's no God. That's what it says twice in the Bible, Psalm 14, Psalm 53. So I think.
And the book of Chris says the Bible's the worst book ever compiled. I think it exactly says the Bible is shit.
Just normal intuition would say somebody had to make it. The difference is we admit we believe that by faith. They do not admit theirs is a religion. She'll deny it right now. Go ahead, deny it.
I most certainly will.
There you go.
I'm not even denying. I'm stating that it is
It's
not
a fact.
religion. No.
Okay, it's a fact.
Yeah, because
So anyway,
you're right? You're right about everything.
not everything. My wife corrects me when I'm not. Twice.
Well, I certainly hope so. She probably has to do a lot. But
No, just twice so far. Okay. So what's your answer to this one? Since no human being was alive when the earth was created, how do people come to the place where they assume it was God? What's your answer? Do you have any comment on that one?
Well, thank you for that, Music Man Dre. So I am not the person who's coming to that place that I'm assuming that it was a God. I don't assume
assuming
that
there's no God.
did it.
Okay,
No,
okay.
he said, how do people come to a place where they assume it was a God with zero proof? That's the question that we ask y'all. That is the question that we ask, that y'all are saying that God did it. You're saying that it is according to your belief, and that you're sitting up here trying to debunk all of these other scientific claims, but yet you are not producing much of anything that shows that your belief is true or even better than what science claims.
I think I produced plenty, but that's okay. Joseph, next question, and it's lunchtime, and we've gone 2 hours now. Oh, hang on, one more from the audience.
Yeah, I don't want to ask a question, I just want to make a statement.
And do it louder so we can hear it.
I would just like to make a statement. I hate to go back to this subject because I know it was a sensitive subject, but in the Bible, when God first created Adam and Eve and they had children, there were no downtown stores. There was nowhere to go for food. Should someone's parents die, those children had nowhere to go. If you were a teenager, you lost your parents, you had nowhere to go. So you would become someone's servant.
Is that necessarily true? Because in different civilizations, and I hope I'm talking into the mic, I'm responding to, there were different cultural civilizations.
Oh, okay. It was a lapel mic, meaning that mic was absolutely pointless. Okay.
That there were relatives that they would take them in. Then they might become orphans or maybe adopted by other families. That would be what communities are for, to help raise, like, let's say if there was a child whose parents died unexpectedly, then someone else would hopefully step up to raise them as a community, not necessarily becoming their servants. If that is what happened in the Bible, then I would take issue or exception with that. Because why would a child who lost their parents through no fault of their own have to become a servant to someone else, if that makes sense?
The way that it started with two people and then communities grew until the flood, according to our belief, there was no welfare system. There was no place to go. If family members didn't get along as they don't today, as we have an example that the prodigal son ran out and he became someone else's servant. It was that person's welfare that was being considered by other people. So they said, sure, come in, be my servant, whatever you want to call it. That was the word. 99% of the time in the Bible, the word is servant. It is not slave. Twice the Bible says the word slave. That was their system back then. You worked for me for so long, we agreed upon that. They married, they had families. When the time was up, they left. So really, it was a welfare system under the name of servanthood. Joseph was stolen and sold, and God did not like that. But because this whole system was created to take care of people, God gave them rules. So he never did condone evil. And a lot of what people did became evil, but he never condoned evil.
Well, again, that just becomes to, I mean, and these are the things that you believe in the Bible.
Right. If people's going to accuse the Bible of being evil, I'm here to say that that was not an evil thing. That was their welfare system.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if I choose to go, if I tell somebody, look, I need a place to live, I'll come live at your place, I'll work, I'll fix your cars, I'll mow your grass, I'll be your servant for the next 3 years in exchange for a roof over my head and utilities and food. That's not slavery, it's an exchange.
Well, you're
and she's saying most of what's in the Bible is that type of arrangement, as opposed to, but we're over time and we're off on a different topic. But
okay, yeah.
Any more important ones there, Joseph?
All right then.
Somebody heard you believe in a firmament. They want to know if they're flat earth too.
Kansas is flat, part of Nebraska is flat, and the rest of it's round. So no, I'm not a flat earther. Did you have a comment on that?
No.
Okay.
That's it for me.
Well, Mandisa, thank you for coming. You're welcome to come back anytime. Bring the family next time. If you got time to stay after lunch, we'll give you the tour if you want to stay, unless you got to drive back to Atlanta, but stay for a couple days. We got a cabin for you. We've been open for free for 8 years. We'll feed you, house you. After a couple of days, we give you a hammer, put you to work. We got lots to do around here. Thank you so much for joining us. Any closing comments?
No, thank you to everyone who tuned in. Please visit Black Nonbelievers website at blacknonbelievers.org. We are an organization that supports not just Black folks, but other allies. And please do support our work. We co-sponsor a student scholarship. and other humanitarian efforts. So yes, please do learn more about us.
It was Black Non-Believers?
Correct.
Okay.
Black Non-Believers. Yes.
Good. And ours is drdino.com, DRDINO, around about 10 different channels. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much.
Glad you came.
Thank
See you
you.
tomorrow.
No, we're not going into that. Good old autoplay. All right. Well, that was the end of that. I had some fun. I'm too busy wrestling with this damn cat who constantly wants in, out, in, out, in, out of the room. I don't really have any additional commentary. Glad we finished it. Mandisa just tore Kent apart. It was quite beautiful, honestly. But yeah, that's going to end this. I've got some back-end server work I need to do, and then I may or may not go live again later with something else. We'll just see how things go. We'll see if Hovind's Sunday stream seemed interesting enough to maybe do another Hovind, maybe something else. I don't know. Could see what Amot's up to. I don't know. We're just going to see what the day brings. But right now, I go take care of some stuff. Catch everyone next